Seline, a towering 9-foot Bolian female, stands before the breeding council, her heart pounding as she awaits their verdict. The chamber falls silent as the head counselor clears his throat, his words sealing her fate. Seline, you are deemed too tall to breed. The size discrepancy poses an unacceptable risk to our males. The words hit her like a physical blow. Seline's shoulders slump as she turns to leave, her dreams of motherhood crumbling around her. The genetic crisis plaguing Bull Prime claims another victim. As she steps out of the chamber, alarms blare throughout the capital city. Citizens rush to windows and balconies, pointing at the sky. A damaged human diplomatic shuttle streaks across the horizon, leaving a trail of smoke in its wake. The spacecraft makes a rough landing at the spaceport, skidding to a halt on the tarmac. As the dust settles, the hatch opens with a hiss. Johnny Dixon, a 6'4" human diplomat, emerges from the craft, coughing and waving away the acrid smoke. Curious Bolians gather around, murmuring in amazement. Johnny towers over the 5-foot Bolian males, but stands shorter than their statuesque females. Word of the humans' arrival spreads quickly, reaching the ears of the desperate breeding council. Within minutes, Johnny finds himself ushered into the council chamber. He stands before the panel of alien officials, their eyes studying him intently. Human Dixon, the head counselor begins, we face a crisis. Our species teeters on the brink of extinction due to extreme height differences. Our tallest females, like Seline here, cannot safely mate with our males. Seline re-enters the chamber, her eyes widening as she sees Johnny. For the first time in her life, she encounters a being who might be compatible with her size. The counselor continues, we propose an unprecedented solution. We ask you, Johnny Dixon, to become a breeding partner for our tallest females, starting with Seline. Johnny's jaw drops. He glances from the counselors to Seline, then back again. The weight of their request settles on his shoulders. He considers the diplomatic implications, the personal ethical concerns, and the potential to save an entire species from extinction. Seline steps forward, her eyes meeting Johnny's. Hope flickers in her gaze, a stark contrast to the despair she felt moments ago. The fate of the Bolian species hangs in the balance, resting on the shoulders of this unexpected human visitor. Johnny takes a deep breath, acutely aware that his next words could alter the course of interspecies relations forever. The chamber falls silent, all eyes fixed on the human diplomat as they await his response to this extraordinary proposal. Johnny's mind raced as he contemplated the weight of the decision before him. The silence in the chamber was palpable, broken only by the soft rustle of robes as the counselors leaned forward in anticipation. He glanced at Seline, her azure skin gleaming under the chamber's lights, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. The fate of an entire species hung in the balance, and he held the key to their survival in his hands. Taking a deep breath, Johnny straightened his shoulders and addressed the council. I understand the gravity of your request, he began, his voice steady despite the tumult of emotions within. As a diplomat, I came here to build bridges between our species. I never imagined it would be in quite this way, but if I have the ability to help, I feel it's my duty to do so. A collective sigh of relief swept through the chamber. Seline's eyes widened, a smile breaking across her face. I accept your proposal, Johnny concluded, his words echoing in the now silent room. The head counselor nodded solemnly. We thank you, human Dixon. Your decision may well save our species. Within hours, Johnny found himself in a state-of-the-art medical facility. Dr. Zara, a female Bolian with sharp eyes and steady hands, led him through a series of examinations. Scanners hummed and holographic displays flickered with data as the medical team worked tirelessly. Fascinating, Dr. Zara murmured, studying a display of Johnny's DNA. Your genetic structure, it's remarkably adaptable. It could be the key to stabilizing our genome. As Johnny underwent his tests, Seline was in an adjacent room, undergoing her own battery of examinations. Through the transparent partition, their eyes met occasionally, exchanging reassuring smiles. Days passed in a whirlwind of medical procedures and cultural exchanges. Johnny and Seline were given time to acclimate to each other, sharing meals in a private dining area within the facility. Tell me about Earth, Seline asked one evening, her eyes alight with curiosity as she sampled a dish prepared in the human style. Johnny smiled, describing the varied landscapes of his home planet, from towering mountains to vast oceans. Seline, in turn, shared stories of Bolian art and music, her passion evident in every word. As they talked, Johnny found himself drawn to Celine's intelligence and grace. Her laughter, melodious and warm, filled the room, easing the tension that had built up over the past few days. Meanwhile, beyond the walls of the medical facility, Bull Prime was abuzz with activity. News of the unprecedented breeding attempt had spread like wildfire, sparking intense debate among the populace. Ambassador Campbell arrived from Earth, his shuttle touching down amidst a flurry of media attention. He was immediately whisked away to meet with High Chancellor Torque, the two leaders closeted for hours in intense negotiations. "We must ensure that Johnny's rights are protected," Campbell insisted, his voice firm but diplomatic. "This situation is without precedent." Torque nodded gravely. "We understand, Ambassador. Rest assured we will treat human Dixon with the utmost respect and care." As the day of the first breeding attempt approached, tensions on Bull Prime reached a fever pitch. Outside the medical facility, a group of protesters gathered, led by Grix, a stern-faced Bolian religious leader. "This is an abomination," Grix shouted, his voice carrying over the crowd. "We cannot allow our species to be tainted by alien DNA." Security forces formed a cordon around the facility, their faces grim as they held back the surging crowd. Inside, Johnny and Seline were moved to a secure wing, isolated from the growing unrest. Dr. Zara and her team worked tirelessly, making final preparations. A special chamber had been designed to accommodate the height difference between Johnny and Seline, equipped with state-of-the-art monitoring equipment. On the eve of the breeding attempt, Johnny and Seline found themselves alone in a quiet room, away from the prying eyes of doctors and diplomats. The air was thick with unspoken emotions. "I never thought I'd have this chance," Seline said softly, her eyes meeting Johnny's. "To potentially become a mother, to help save my people. Thank you, Johnny." Johnny reached out, taking Celine's hand in his. The size difference was stark, yet their fingers intertwined naturally. "I'm honored to be here, Seline. Whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to know that I'm glad I met you." As dawn broke on the day of the first breeding attempt, the medical facility was a hive of activity. Final checks were made on equipment, and last-minute adjustments were carried out on the specialized chamber. Johnny and Seline were prepared separately, each undergoing final medical scans and receiving words of encouragement from their respective teams. The weight of two worlds rested on their shoulders as they approached the chamber. Standing before the sealed doors, Johnny looked up at Seline. Her blue skin seemed to glow with an inner light, her eyes a mix of tenacity and vulnerability. He offered her a reassuring smile, which she returned with a gentle nod. As the doors slid open with a soft hiss, they stepped forward together into the unknown, ready to potentially change the course of Bolian history and interspecies relations forever. The doors slid shut behind them with a soft hiss, sealing Johnny and Seline inside the specially designed breeding chamber. The room was a marvel of Bolian technology, its walls lined with sleek monitoring equipment and adjustable furniture to accommodate their height difference. Johnny's heart raced as he took in the surroundings. The air felt thick with anticipation, and he could sense Celine's nervous energy beside him. He turned to face her, struck once again by her towering beauty. "Are you ready?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Seline nodded, her azure skin seeming to shimmer under the soft lighting. "As ready as I'll ever be," she replied, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. They approached each other slowly, acutely aware of Dr. Zara and her team observing from the adjacent control room. Johnny reached up, gently cupping Celine's face in his hands. She leaned down, closing the distance between them. Their first kiss was tentative, exploratory. As they pulled apart, Johnny saw a flash of surprise in Celine's eyes, quickly replaced by warmth. They came together again, more confidently this time. As their intimacy deepened, they navigated the challenges posed by their physiological differences. What began as awkward fumbling soon gave way to a natural rhythm as they discovered how their bodies could fit together. In the control room, Dr. Zara watched the monitors intently. Remarkable, she murmured, noting the synchronization of their vital signs. Their bodies are adapting to each other far more quickly than we anticipated. Hours passed as Johnny and Seline explored their newfound connection. Between periods of physical intimacy, they shared quiet moments of conversation and laughter, their bond growing stronger with each passing minute. Outside the facility, the situation was far less harmonious. Grix's protesters had swelled in number, their angry chants echoing through the streets. Security forces formed a tight perimeter, their faces grim as they held back the surging crowd. "This unholy union must be stopped," Grix shouted, his voice carrying over the din. "We cannot allow our pure Bolian bloodline to be tainted." Ambassador Campbell stood with Chancellor Torque in a secure command center, watching the chaos unfold on multiple screens. "We need to get this under control," Campbell said, his brow furrowed with concern. "If they breach the facility—" "They won't," Torque interrupted, his voice firm. "I've authorized the use of non-lethal crowd control measures if necessary. We cannot allow a few zealots to jeopardize the future of our species." Back in the breeding chamber, Johnny and Seline were oblivious to the turmoil outside. As their final session concluded, they lay together on the specially designed bed, their fingers intertwined. "I never expected this," Seline said softly, turning to face Johnny. "When I first saw you in the council chamber, I thought you might be my last hope for motherhood. But now—" Johnny squeezed her hand gently. "I know. I feel it too." A soft chime interrupted their moment, signaling the end of the breeding attempt. The doors slid open, and Dr. Zara entered, her face a mask of professional composure. "Excellent work, both of you," she said, her eyes flicking between them. "We've collected a wealth of data. Now, if you'll come with me, we need to perform some immediate post-procedure examinations." Johnny and Seline were led to separate examination rooms. As medical staff swarmed around him, taking samples and running scans, Johnny found his thoughts drifting back to Seline. He hoped she was all right. Hours later, after a much-needed rest and nutrient infusion, Johnny was escorted to a private meeting room. Seline was already there, her face lighting up as he entered. Before they could speak, Dr. Zara burst into the room, her eyes wide with excitement. "We have preliminary result," she announced, activating a holographic display. "The genetic analysis showed, well, it's unprecedented. The combination of human and Bolian DNA has produced a unique sequence. If these findings hold true, it could potentially solve our height disparity issue." Johnny and Seline exchanged a look of wonder. "What does this mean for us?" Seline asked, her voice trembling slightly. Dr. Zara's expression softened. "It's too early to say if conception has occurred. We'll need to continue monitoring both of you closely. For now, you'll be moved to a secure living quarter where you can rest and recover under our supervision." As they were led to their new accommodations, Johnny noticed the increased security presence. Through a window, he caught a glimpse of the protesters still gathered outside, their numbers diminished but their determination seemingly unshaken. Inside their living quarter, Johnny and Seline found themselves alone for the first time since the breeding attempt began. The room was comfortable, with a magnificent view of the Bolian capital city stretching out before them. Seline turned to Johnny, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Whatever happens next," she said, taking his hands in hers, "I want you to know that this experience has changed my life. You've given me hope, Johnny. More than that, you've given me a connection I never thought I'd find." Johnny pulled her close, marveling at how natural it felt to be in her arms despite their size difference. As they stood there, holding each other in the fading light of the Bolian sun, both knew that regardless of the genetic results, their lives would never be the same. Outside, the city buzzed with anticipation, two worlds holding their breath as they awaited news that could reshape the future of interspecies relations. But for Johnny and Seline, in that moment, the universe had shrunk to the space between their heartbeats, a private cosmos of newfound love and shared destiny. Hope. As the days passed, Johnny and Seline settled into a routine within their secure living quarters, eagerly awaiting news from Dr. Zara and her team. One morning, as they shared breakfast overlooking the Bolian capital, Dr. Zara burst into their room, her eyes alight with excitement. "We have extraordinary news," she announced, activating a holographic display. The genetic analysis from your breeding attempt has yielded remarkable results. Johnny and Seline leaned forward, their meal forgotten as they studied the complex diagrams floating before them. Dr. Zara explained, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. The combination of human and Bolian DNA has produced a unique sequence with adaptive height regulation properties. This could be the key to solving our height disparity issue. Seline gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. You mean? Yes, Dr. Zara nodded. This discovery could allow future generations of Bolians to grow to a more uniform size range. It's a potential breakthrough for our entire species. Johnny felt a surge of pride and wonder. He turned to Seline, seeing his own amazement reflected in her eyes. What happens next? He asked. Dr. Zara's expression turned serious. The Bolian Breeding Council has requested additional sessions between you two. They want to gather more data and increase the chances of conception. Seline reached for Johnny's hand, their fingers intertwining naturally despite the size difference. I'm willing if you are, she said softly. Johnny nodded, squeezing her hand gently. Of course, we've come this far together. Over the next week, Johnny and Seline engaged in multiple breeding attempts, each carefully monitored by Dr. Zara's team. Between sessions, they explored the secure areas of the facility, learning more about each other's cultures and personal histories. One evening, as they walked through a holographic garden designed to mimic Earth's landscapes, Seline asked, Tell me about your family, Johnny. What was it like growing up on Earth? Johnny smiled, recalling fond memories. I grew up in a small town in Colorado. My parents run a farm there. I have 2 younger sisters who are probably worried sick about me right now. Celine's expression softened. It must be difficult being so far from them. It is, Johnny admitted. But being here, with you, knowing we might be making a difference, it helps. As they continued their walk, Johnny noticed increased security presence throughout the facility. Through a window, he caught glimpses of the protesters outside, their numbers having grown since the news of the genetic breakthrough leaked. Meanwhile, Ambassador Campbell was hard at work, negotiating with Chancellor Torque to establish a formal agreement between Earth and Bull Prime. They spent long hours in heated discussions, drafting a treaty that would outline the rights and responsibilities of both parties in the interspecies breeding program. 2 weeks after the first breeding attempt, Dr. Zara called Johnny and Seline to her office. Her face was a mix of excitement and apprehension as she delivered the news. Seline is pregnant. The words hung in the air for a moment before their full impact hit. Celine's eyes widened, her hand instinctively moving to her abdomen. Johnny felt a rush of emotions, joy, fear, wonder, as he processed the information. The fetus is developing at an accelerated rate compared to both human and Bolian norms. Dr. Zara continued, her brow furrowing. We'll need to monitor the pregnancy closely to ensure Celine's health isn't at risk. As the news spread, it sent shockwaves through both Bolian and human societies. Scientists from both worlds clamored for access to the medical data, while ethicists debated the implications of creating a new hybrid species. The Bolian government, seeing the potential salvation of their species, began preparations for a larger-scale breeding program. They identified other tall Bolian females and started the process of recruiting willing human participants. On Earth, the United Earth government faced mounting pressure from various factions. Some called for an expansion of the interspecies breeding program, while others demanded an immediate halt. As Celine's pregnancy progressed, Johnny found himself grappling with a difficult decision. Feeling a deep sense of responsibility for Seline and their unborn child, he approached Ambassador Campbell. Sir, I'd like to request permission to stay on Ball Prime indefinitely, Johnny said, his voice firm despite his nervousness. Campbell's eyebrows shot up. Johnny, you understand the implications of what you're asking? The Earth Diplomatic Corps expects you to return for debriefing and further study. I understand, sir, Johnny replied, but Seline and our child need me here. I can't abandon them. As Campbell reluctantly agreed to consider his request, Johnny returned to Celine's side. They spent their days preparing for the arrival of their hybrid child, their nights filled with whispered hopes and fears for the future. Outside the facility, tensions continued to rise. The conservative faction led by Grix had gained support from a group of human religious fundamentalists who had arrived on Bull Prime. Their combined protests grew louder and more aggressive, forcing security to implement even stricter measures. As Seline entered her 4th month of pregnancy, Dr. Zara made a startling discovery during a routine scan. She called Johnny and Seline to the medical bay, her face a mask of professional calm that barely concealed her excitement. "We've detected unusual energy readings emanating from the fetus," she explained, showing them a holographic representation of the scan. "It appears that your child is developing unique abilities that neither humans nor Bolians possess." Johnny and Seline exchanged a look of wonder and trepidation. As they watched the hologram pulse with mysterious energy, they realized that their child might be more than just a solution to the Bolian height crisis. It could be the beginning of something entirely new, a bridge between two species that could change the course of interstellar relations forever. As Johnny and Seline watched the hologram pulse with mysterious energy, their awe was interrupted by a sharp gasp from Seline. She clutched her abdomen, her eyes wide with surprise. "Are you all right?" Johnny asked immediately at her side. Dr. Zara quickly moved to examine Seline, her fingers dancing across a nearby console. "It's okay," she reassured them. "The fetus is just exhibiting a strong energy surge. These fluctuations are becoming more frequent as the pregnancy progresses." Over the next few weeks, Johnny found himself spending more and more time in the medical bay as Celine's pregnancy entered its 5th month. The facility buzzed with activity, a hive of researchers and medical staff working around the clock to monitor the rapidly developing hybrid child. One afternoon, as Johnny sat beside Seline during yet another examination, a small electromagnetic pulse emanated from her abdomen, causing the nearby monitors to flicker and momentarily shut down. "Fascinating," Dr. Zara murmured, quickly working to recalibrate the equipment. "The energy signatures are becoming more pronounced. We'll need to develop new monitoring techniques to keep up with these changes." Johnny nodded, his brow furrowed with concern. "What can I do to help?" Dr. Zara looked up from her work, a small smile on her face. "Actually, Johnny, your presence has been invaluable. The fetus seems to respond positively to your proximity. I'd like you to assist us in developing these new monitoring methods." From that day forward, Johnny threw himself into the research, working alongside Dr. Zara and her team. He attended every medical examination, helped analyze data, and even contributed to the design of new specialized equipment to better understand the hybrid child's development. As Johnny's role in the medical facility expanded, so did his connection with Seline. Their relationship deepened, evolving beyond the initial breeding arrangement into something more profound. They spent their evenings talking about their hopes and fears for their child, sharing stories of their respective cultures, and imagining the future they might build together. One night as they lay in bed, Seline turned to Johnny, her eyes shimmering in the dim light. "I never expected to find this with you," she said softly. "When we first met, I thought this was just about saving my species. But now—" Johnny pulled her close, careful of her growing belly. "I know," he whispered. "I feel it too. Whatever happens, we're in this together." Their private world of newfound love, however, was not isolated from the growing tensions outside. The Bolian Breeding Council's efforts to expand the interspecies program had gained traction, and 5 more human males had arrived on Bull Prime to participate in breeding attempts with tall Bolian females. The increased human presence on the planet didn't go unnoticed. One morning, as Johnny entered the medical bay, he found it bustling with unfamiliar faces. "Ah, Johnny!" Dr. Zara called out, waving him over. "I'd like you to meet Dr. Elena Kovac and her team from Earth. They've come to study the hybrid pregnancies and assist us in our research." Johnny shook hands with Dr. Kovac, a tall woman with piercing green eyes. "It's an honor to meet you," he said. "I've read some of your work on xenogenetics." Dr. Kovac smiled. "The honor is mine, Johnny. What you and Seline have accomplished here is nothing short of revolutionary. We're eager to contribute to this groundbreaking research." As the Earth scientists integrated into the medical team, bringing with them advanced equipment and fresh insights, the pace of discovery accelerated. However, the expanded human presence also seemed to fuel the opposition from Vex and his radical Boolean purist group. One afternoon, as Johnny was reviewing data with Dr. Kovacs, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Security personnel rushed past the lab, their faces grim. "What's happening?" Johnny asked, his heart racing. Dr. Zara burst into the room, her usually calm demeanor shaken. "We're under cyber attack," she explained breathlessly. "Vex's group is attempting to breach our systems and erase our research data." Johnny's mind immediately went to Seline and their unborn child. He raced to their quarters, finding Seline already being escorted by security to a safe room. "Are you okay?" he asked, taking her hand. Seline nodded, her face pale but determined. "We're fine. But Johnny, what about our research? All the work we've done?" "Don't worry," he assured her, though his own heart was pounding. "Dr. Zara and the team are working on it. We'll get through this." As they huddled in the safe room with other researchers and participants in the breeding program, Johnny could hear the muffled sounds of chaos outside. Hours passed before Dr. Zara finally arrived, looking exhausted but relieved. "We've managed to repel the attack," she announced. "Our data is safe, but we'll need to implement stricter security measures. Chancellor Torque is addressing the situation as we speak." Indeed, Chancellor Torque's response was swift and decisive. He declared a state of emergency in the capital city, imposing strict security measures and limiting public gatherings. The medical facility was placed under heightened protection, with advanced cybersecurity systems installed to prevent future attacks. As the days passed and tensions remained high, Johnny and Seline tried to focus on their impending parenthood. They participated in a traditional Boolean bonding ceremony, broadcast across Bol Prime as a symbol of interspecies cooperation and hope. However, their moment of joy was short-lived. During a routine examination in Seline's 6th month, Dr. Zara detected a sudden spike in the hybrid fetus's energy output. "This is concerning," she muttered, her eyes fixed on the readings. "The child's abilities seem to be evolving at an alarming rate. We need to develop new containment measures immediately." As the medical team scrambled to manage the growing energy emissions, Johnny held Seline's hand tightly. They exchanged a look of both excitement and fear, knowing that the birth of their child would bring challenges they could never have imagined. Outside the facility, unseen by the anxious parents-to-be, a small group of Booleans led by Vex gathered in the shadows, their eyes fixed on the building that held the key to their species' future. They checked their weapons and nodded to each other, ready to make their move. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shape the destiny of two worlds. Worlds and shape the destiny of interstellar relations. As the 7th month of Seline's pregnancy approached, the medical facility became a hive of frantic activity. The hybrid fetus's energy emissions grew more intense with each passing day, causing lights to flicker and equipment to malfunction at random intervals. Dr. Zara and her team worked tirelessly, their faces etched with exhaustion as they raced to develop a containment system capable of managing these unpredictable surges. Johnny rarely left Seline's side, his own fatigue evident in the dark circles under his eyes. He assisted the medical team in any way he could, from monitoring Seline's vital signs to helping calibrate the newly developed energy containment devices. "How are you feeling?" Johnny asked softly, gently squeezing Seline's hand as another wave of energy pulsed through the room, causing the monitors to beep erratically. Seline managed a weak smile. "Tired, but okay. Our little one is certainly keeping us on our toes." Their moment of tenderness was interrupted by a sudden, piercing alarm. Red lights flashed throughout the facility as security personnel rushed past the medical bay, their faces grim with dedication. Dr. Zara burst into the room, her usually composed demeanor shattered. "We're under attack. Vex and his group have breached our outer defenses." As if on cue, a massive energy surge emanated from Seline's abdomen, more powerful than any they had experienced before. The lights in the facility flickered and died, plunging them into darkness for several heart-stopping seconds before the emergency generators kicked in. "The defensive systems are down," Dr. Zara exclaimed, her fingers flying over a console. "That pulse from the fetus. It's disabled our security measures." Johnny's heart raced as he heard distant shouts and the sound of energy weapons discharging. He looked at Seline, her face pale with fear, and made a split-second decision. "I need to help defend the facility," he said, his voice tight with persistence. "Dr. Zara, please keep Seline safe." Before anyone could protest, Johnny sprinted out of the medical bay. In the corridor, he encountered Commander Lux, a seasoned Bolian military officer coordinating the defense. "You're the human father," Lux said, eyeing Johnny warily. "What are you doing out here?" "I want to help," Johnny replied. "I know this facility better than most. Let me guide your teams. Set up barricades." Lux hesitated for a moment before nodding sharply. "Very well, follow me." As they moved through the complex, Johnny's mind raced. He directed security teams to strategic choke points, using his intimate knowledge of the facility's layout to their advantage. The sounds of battle grew closer, the acrid smell of ozone from discharged energy weapons filling the air. Meanwhile, in the medical bay, Dr. Elena Kovac made a startling discovery. As she analyzed the latest data from the Fetus's energy emissions, a pattern emerged. "Dr. Zara!" she called out excitedly. "These energy pulses, they're not random. Look at this frequency modulation. It's almost like the fetus is trying to communicate." Dr. Zara's eyes widened as she studied the readouts. "You're right. It's reaching out, trying to connect with both its human and Bolian heritage." A plan formed in Dr. Zara's mind, as audacious as it was risky. She turned to Seline, her face grave. "Seline, I believe we can stabilize the fetus's energy output, but it will require an experimental procedure. We'll use a modified version of Bolian telepathic technology to establish a mental link with your child." Celine's hand instinctively moved to her swollen abdomen. She could feel the restless energy within her, the power of the life she carried. With a deep breath, she nodded. "Do it." As Dr. Zara prepared for the procedure, Johnny found himself face-to-face with Vex. The Bolian extremist had broken through the security cordon and now stood at the entrance to the medical bay, his eyes wild with fanaticism. "Stand aside, human," Vex snarled, brandishing an energy weapon. "You have no place here. The purity of the Bolian race must be preserved." Johnny held his ground, his own weapon trained on Vex. "You're wrong, Vex. What's happening here? It's not just about Bolians or humans. It's about our future together." Inside the medical bay, Dr. Zara initiated the telepathic link. As the connection formed, Seline gasped, her body arching off the bed. A blinding light erupted from her abdomen, growing in intensity until it engulfed the entire room. The energy wave rippled through the facility, overloading systems and shorting out weapons. Johnny felt the weapon in his hands grow hot, then fizzle out. Vex's weapon suffered the same fate, giving Johnny the opening he needed. He lunged forward, tackling the Bolian to the ground. As the light faded, an eerie silence fell over the facility. Johnny, his heart pounding, secured Vex and rushed into the medical bay. He found Seline sitting up in bed, her eyes wide with wonder. Dr. Zara approached them, her face a mix of exhaustion and excitement. "The procedure was successful. The fetus's energy emissions have stabilized. But that's not all." She paused, her voice filled with awe. "Seline, your body is changing. The telepathic link seems to have unlocked a dormant ability in your Bolian physiology. You're adapting." Johnny watched in amazement as Seline stood, her once towering frame now closer to his own height. They embraced, overcome with emotion at this unexpected turn of events. Outside the medical bay, the sound of approaching footsteps broke the moment. Commander Lux entered, his uniform singed but his bearing proud. "The attack has been repelled," he reported, "but we're picking up an unidentified ship entering orbit. Its intentions are unknown." As if on cue, a communication console crackled to life. An unfamiliar voice, neither human nor Bolian, filled the room. "Attention, Bol Prime. We have detected an unprecedented energy signature from your planet. Prepare for our arrival. We come seeking the source of this power." Johnny and Seline exchanged glances, their hands intertwined protectively over her abdomen. The birth of their child, it seemed, would have implications far beyond anything they could have imagined. As the facility buzzed with renewed activity, preparing for this new development, They knew that the most challenging chapter of their journey was just beginning. As the facility buzzed with renewed activity, preparing for this new development, they knew that the most challenging chapter of their journey was just unfolding. The unidentified ship maintained its orbit around Bull Prime, its presence a looming reminder of the unprecedented events transpiring on the planet's surface. Within the medical facility, now the epicenter of galactic attention, Johnny and Seline faced the final, intense month of their pregnancy. Dr. Zara burst into their room, her face a mixture of excitement and concern. "The energy emissions from your child have spiked again," she explained, gesturing to a holographic display of wildly fluctuating readings. "Our containment systems are barely holding." Johnny sprang into action, his exhaustion forgotten. "I might be able to help," he said, moving to a nearby control panel. "If we integrate some human shielding tech with your Boolean systems, we might buy ourselves some time." As Johnny worked alongside the medical staff, his fingers flying over the controls, alarms blared throughout the facility. The hybrid fetus's energy surged once more, causing lights to flicker and equipment to spark ominously. "The dampening field is failing," Dr. Kovacs shouted, her hands a blur as she adjusted settings on a nearby console. Johnny gritted his teeth, sweat beading on his forehead. "Just a little more," he muttered, making a final adjustment. The alarms abruptly silenced and the lights stabilized. A collective sigh of relief echoed through the room. Their respite was short-lived. Chancellor Torque's holographic image materialized in the center of the room, his expression grave. "We've received a transmission from the alien vessel," he announced. "They call themselves the Zuthians, and they're requesting permission to land." Dr. Zara's eyes widened. "The Zithians? They're known for their interest in unique genetic combinations across the galaxy." Torque nodded. "Their leader, Ambassador Zelna, wants to observe the birth. I've granted their request, but under strict conditions. Commander Lux will oversee security arrangements." As if on cue, Lux entered the room, his posture rigid. "We're doubling our forces around the facility," he reported. "No one gets in or out without clearance." The atmosphere in the medical facility grew tense as they awaited the Zythians' arrival. Johnny stayed close to Seline, whose discomfort was visibly increasing. "How are you holding up?" he asked softly. Seline managed a weak smile. "I feel different, like our child is trying to tell us something." Before Johnny could respond, a commotion outside caught their attention. Through the windows, they saw a sleek, iridescent ship descending from the sky, landing gracefully in the courtyard. A delegation of tall, ethereal beings emerged, led by a figure that could only be Ambassador Zelna. Dr. Zara met the Zithians at the entrance, her voice carrying through the open door. "Welcome to Ball Prime, Ambassador. We appreciate your offer of assistance." Zelna inclined her head, her voice melodious and otherworldly. "The birth of this child is of great interest to us. We bring advanced medical equipment that may help manage the energy emissions." As the Zithian delegation set up their equipment, Dr. Kovacs worked alongside them, her excitement palpable. Suddenly she gasped, her eyes fixed on a holographic display. "This is incredible," she breathed. "The child's energy emissions. They're not just communication, they're altering genetic structures." The revelation sent shockwaves through the room. Dr. Zara approached Seline, her expression a mix of awe and concern. "This could be the solution to the Boolean height disparity issue," she explained, "but the implications—" Her words were cut short as Seline cried out in pain, her body arching off the bed. "The baby!" she gasped. "It's coming!" The medical team sprang into action, but they were unprepared for what happened next. As Celine's labor intensified, a wave of energy pulsed outward from her body. The Boolean staff members closest to her stumbled, looks of shock on their faces as their bodies began to change before everyone's eyes. "They're adapting," Dr. Kovacs observed, her voice filled with wonder. "The genetic alterations are spreading." Outside the facility, chaos erupted as the genetic wave swept through the capital city. Chancellor Torque's voice crackled over the communication system, declaring a state of emergency and ordering evacuations. Inside, Johnny held Selene's hand tightly as she pushed, her face contorted with effort. The room was bathed in a pulsing, otherworldly light emanating from her abdomen. Equipment sparked and fizzled, the combined Bolian, human, and Zithian technology straining to contain the incredible energy. Suddenly, the other 5 pregnant Bolian females in the facility cried out in unison, their labors beginning simultaneously. The medical bay transformed into a scene of controlled chaos as Dr. Zara and her team rushed to manage multiple high-risk births. Ambassador Zelna stepped forward, her ethereal form seeming to shimmer with excitement. "We can help contain the genetic alteration wave," she offered. "Our technology is designed for such phenomena." As the Zathians worked to establish a containment field around the facility, Johnny noticed a commotion near the entrance. Vex, still in custody, was gesturing frantically to Commander Lux. "Let me speak to the people," Vex pleaded. "I can calm the purest factions. This is the salvation of our species." Lux hesitated, then nodded sharply. Vex was escorted to a communication terminal, where he began broadcasting a message of unity and hope to the gathered crowds outside. The energy in the room reached a fever pitch as Seline's labor entered its final stage. Johnny held her hand, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "You're doing great," he encouraged. "Just a little more." With a final, monumental effort, Seline pushed. A blinding light engulfed the entire medical facility, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. As the light faded, a new sound filled the room, the cry of a newborn child. Johnny blinked, his vision slowly returning. He looked down at Seline, cradling a small, squirming bundle in her arms. Their eyes met, filled with love and wonder at the miraculous being they had brought into the world. But there was no time to celebrate. The genetic alteration wave continued to spread, its effects rippling out across Bol Prime. The Zithian containment field strained against the onslaught, and alarms blared throughout the facility. Dr. Zara approached, her face etched with a mixture of awe and concern. "The child's energy emissions are still increasing," she reported. "We need to stabilize them before—" Her words were cut off as another pulse of energy radiated from the newborn, even stronger than before. The facility shuddered, and outside, the sky itself seemed to ripple with otherworldly light. Johnny and Seline exchanged a look of commitment, knowing that the birth of their child was just the beginning of a new chapter, not only for them, but for the entire galaxy. As the energy wave swept outward, carrying with it the potential to reshape civilizations, they held their newborn close, bracing for whatever challenges lay ahead. As the energy wave swept outward, carrying with it the potential to reshape civilizations, they held their newborn close, bracing for whatever challenges lay ahead. Suddenly, the room was plunged into darkness. The intense surge of power from their child had overwhelmed the facility's systems, disabling all electronic equipment. In the pitch black, Seline's labored breathing filled the air, punctuated by the urgent voices of the medical staff. "Everyone remain calm," Dr. Zara's steady voice cut through the chaos. "Backup generators should kick in shortly." Johnny squeezed Seline's hand reassuringly. "You're doing great," he whispered. "Just a little more." With a final, powerful push, Seline gave birth. The newborn's first cry pierced the darkness, coinciding with an explosive burst of energy that seemed to emanate from the child itself. The wave radiated outward, passing through the walls of the medical facility and spreading rapidly across Bol Prime. As if in response to the child's cry, the lights flickered back to life. Johnny blinked, his eyes adjusting to the sudden brightness. He looked down at Seline, who cradled a small, squirming bundle in her arms. "It's a girl," Dr. Zara announced, her voice filled with wonder. "She appears to be perfectly healthy." Johnny and Seline exchanged a look of pure joy. "Luna," Seline whispered, her voice hoarse but filled with love. "Her name is Luna." As the medical team bustled around them, running preliminary checks on mother and child, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Dr. Kovac burst into the room, her eyes wide with excitement. "The energy wave," she exclaimed, gesturing to a holographic display that had sprung to life. "It's triggering widespread genetic alterations among the Bolian population." The display showed a map of Bol Prime, with a rapidly expanding circle of energy sweeping across the planet's surface. Within its wake, data points flashed, indicating physiological changes occurring in real time. The height disparity, Dr. Zara gasped, studying the incoming data. It's resolving itself. Bolians across the planet are experiencing rapid changes in their physical structure. Ambassador Zelna stepped forward, her ethereal form shimmering with intensity. This is unprecedented, she stated, her melodious voice tinged with awe. The child's energy has catalyzed a planet-wide genetic shift. As if on cue, the 5 other pregnant Bolian females in the facility cried out in unison. Dr. Zara quickly divided her team, assigning staff to each of the laboring mothers. It seems Luna's birth has triggered a chain reaction, she explained hurriedly to Johnny and Seline. The other hybrid children are coming. Over the next hour, the medical bay was a flurry of activity as 5 more human Bolian infants were born. Each birth was accompanied by a smaller burst of energy, adding to the waves already sweeping across Bol Prime. Dr. Kovac worked alongside the Zythian scientists, analyzing data as it poured in from across the planet. The genetic alterations are stabilizing, she reported. Bolians of all ages are experiencing painless physiological changes. The average height difference is decreasing rapidly. Outside the facility, crowds had gathered, drawn by the strange energies emanating from within. As news spread of the miraculous events unfolding, a sense of wonder and excitement rippled through the assembled Bolians. Chancellor Torque's holographic image materialized in the center of the medical bay, his expression a mixture of awe and grit. Dr. Zara, I need a full report, he demanded. What exactly is happening to our people? As Dr. Zara summarized the situation, Johnny cradled Luna in his arms, marveling at her tiny features. A perfect blend of human and Bolian characteristics. The infant's eyes, wise beyond her minutes, seemed to glow with an inner light. She's beautiful, Seline murmured, reaching out to stroke Luna's cheek. And so powerful. Ambassador Zelna approached, her gaze fixed on Luna. Your child possesses abilities beyond our understanding, she said softly. The Zythians would be honored to offer our expertise in helping you navigate this new frontier. Before Johnny could respond, Commander Lux entered the room, his face grave. Chancellor, Ambassador, he addressed them urgently. Our long-range sensors have detected a fleet of unknown vessels approaching Bol Prime. They'll be within communication range within the hour. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The birth of Luna and the other hybrid children, the genetic alterations sweeping across Bol Prime. News of these events had spread faster than they'd anticipated. Chancellor Torque's hologram flickered as he processed the information. Very well, he said finally. Prepare for first contact. It seems the galaxy has taken notice of our little miracle. As the facility buzzed with renewed activity, Johnny and Seline exchanged a look of grit. They knew that the birth of Luna was just the beginning of a journey that would reshape not just their lives, but the future of interspecies relations throughout the galaxy. Luna stirred in Johnny's arms, her tiny hand reaching out as if grasping for the stars themselves. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, as a family and as pioneers of a new era of galactic cooperation. Luna stirred in Johnny's arms, her tiny hand reaching out as if grasping for the stars themselves. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, as a family and as pioneers of a new era of galactic cooperation. The moment of peace was shattered by the blaring of alarms throughout the medical facility. Commander Lux burst into the room, his face etched with concern. Chancellor, we've detected a large fleet of unknown vessels approaching Bol Prime, he reported, his voice tense. They'll be within our solar system within hours. Chancellor Torque's hologram flickered as he processed the information. Initiate planet-wide defense protocols, he ordered. Commander Lux, prepare our military for potential conflict. Ambassador Campbell, Ambassador Zelna, I need your counsel immediately. As the room erupted into a flurry of activity, Dr. Zara approached Johnny and Seline. We need to move you and the other families to a secure location, she explained hurriedly. There's an underground facility beneath the capital city designed for situations like this. Johnny nodded, cradling Luna protectively. What about the other children? He asked, glancing at the 5 other newborn hybrids. They're coming too, Dr. Zara assured him. We need to keep all of you together and safe. Within minutes, a convoy of secure vehicles was assembled. Johnny and Seline, along with the other human Bolian couples and their newborns, were swiftly escorted from the medical facility. As they drove through the capital city, Johnny could see the streets filled with anxious Bolians, their newly altered physiology a stark reminder of the recent changes that had swept across the planet. The underground facility was a marvel of engineering, its walls lined with advanced energy containment systems. As the families were settled into their quarters, Dr. Zara and her team set up a makeshift research center to continue monitoring the children's development. Hours passed in tense silence. Johnny paced the room, Luna sleeping peacefully in a nearby crib. Seline sat on the edge of their bed, her eyes fixed on a holographic display showing the approaching fleet. "They're entering the system," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. The door to their quarters slid open, revealing Dr. Kovacs. Her face was a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "You need to see this," she said, gesturing for them to follow. In the main research area, holographic displays showed detailed scans of the approaching ships. Commander Lux stood before them, his posture rigid. "We've identified the fleet," he announced as Johnny and Seline entered. "They're Kalaxian." A collective gasp rippled through the room. The Kalaxians were notorious throughout the galaxy for their xenophobic attitudes and advanced genetic engineering capabilities. "They're taking up positions around Bol Prime," Lux continued, his voice grim. "We're effectively under blockade." As if on cue, a new hologram flickered to life in the center of the room. The image showed a stern-faced Kalaxian, his elongated features set in a scowl. "I am Admiral Zorg of the Kalaxian fleet," the alien announced, his voice harsh and guttural. "We demand immediate access to the hybrid children and all research data related to your breeding program. The Kalaxians have a superior claim to any genetic advancements. Failure to comply will result in military action." The hologram vanished, leaving the room in stunned silence. Chancellor Torque's image appeared moments later, his face set in drive. "I'm convening an emergency council," he announced. "Ambassador Campbell, Ambassador Zelna, I need your input on how to proceed." As the political and military leaders debated their options, Johnny turned his attention back to Luna. To his shock, he noticed that she seemed to have grown slightly in just the few hours since her birth. Her eyes, when open, showed an alertness that seemed impossible for a newborn. Dr. Zara noticed his surprise. "We've observed accelerated development in all the hybrid children," she explained. "It's as if they're responding to the perceived threat." Over the next few days, as the diplomatic standoff with the Kalaxians intensified, Luna and her peers continued to exhibit rapid growth and cognitive development. By the end of the week, they appeared to be several months old, their abilities growing stronger by the hour. Johnny watched in awe as Luna manipulated small objects with bursts of energy from her hands, her face scrunched in concentration. The other hybrid children showed similar abilities, each with their own unique manifestations. As the Kalaxian ultimatum neared its deadline, Johnny found himself in a heated discussion with Commander Lux and Dr. Zara. "We can't just sit here and wait for them to attack," Johnny argued. "What if we could use the children's abilities to our advantage?" Commander Lux raised an eyebrow. "What are you suggesting?" Johnny took a deep breath. "What if we could use their energy manipulation abilities to disable the Kalaxian fleet's weapon systems?" The room fell silent as the implications of his proposal sank in. It was a risky plan, but with time running out and the Kalaxians poised to attack, it might be their only option. Dr. Zara nodded slowly. "It's possible. With the right amplification device, we might be able to focus their energy into a powerful enough beam to penetrate the Kalaxian shields." Commander Lux's comm unit chirped, interrupting their discussion. His face paled as he listened to the message. "The Kalaxians have begun their attack," he announced grimly. "Our planetary shield is holding for now, but it won't last long." Johnny met Seline's eyes across the room, saw the same mixture of fear and drive he felt. They both knew what needed to be done. "Let's do it," Johnny said, his voice steady. "Let's show the Kalaxians what our children can do." "Do?" The room fell silent as Johnny's words hung in the air, a mixture of hope and desperation. Commander Lux nodded grimly. We have no choice. Let's move. Within minutes, a makeshift energy amplification device was hastily assembled in the heart of the underground facility. The 6 hybrid children, including Luna, were carefully positioned around it, their tiny hands outstretched. Focus your energy on the device, Dr. Zara instructed gently, just like we practiced. As the children concentrated, the air crackled with power. A beam of pure energy shot upward, piercing through layers of rock and soil before erupting into the sky. The Kalaxian ships, caught off guard by the sudden surge of power, found their weapon systems shutting down one by one. In the tense hours that followed, diplomacy took center stage. Chancellor Torque, alongside Earth and Zithian ambassadors, engaged in marathon negotiations with the Kalaxians. The display of power from the hybrid children had shifted the balance, forcing the Kalaxians to reconsider their aggressive stance. As the talks concluded, a new era dawned on Bull Prime. The planet, once isolated, now stood at the center of a galactic revolution in genetics and interspecies relations. The Kalaxian fleet, weapons powered down, remained in orbit, not as conquerors but as reluctant participants in an unprecedented diplomatic agreement. In the weeks that followed, Bull Prime transformed. The capital city buzzed with activity as representatives from various species arrived, eager to study the hybrid children and explore the possibilities of interspecies breeding programs. The once quiet streets now echoed with a cacophony of alien languages and the hum of advanced technology. Chancellor Torque, seizing the opportunity, established the Galactic Genetic Diversity Initiative, GGDI, in collaboration with Earth and Zithian ambassadors. The initiative aimed to oversee and regulate interspecies breeding efforts, ensuring ethical practices and mutual benefits for all participating species. Meanwhile, in the secure facility beneath the city, Johnny and Seline watched in awe as Luna and the other hybrid children underwent rapid changes. Within weeks, the infants had grown to the equivalent of early adolescence, their bodies and minds evolving at an astonishing rate. "Look, Dad!" Luna called out, her voice no longer that of a baby but of a young girl. She held out her hand, concentrating intensely. Before Johnny's eyes, a strand of her hair changed color, shifting from deep blue to a vibrant purple. Dr. Zara and Dr. Elena Kovacs worked tirelessly, documenting every change and development in the hybrid children. They created new protocols for nurturing and educating these unique beings, their research forming the foundation of a new field of xenogenetics. As news of the successful human-Bolian hybridization spread across the galaxy, other species began to take notice. The Andorians, facing their own genetic bottleneck, were among the first to approach the GGDI with a proposal for a human Andorian breeding initiative. In a council meeting to discuss the Andorian proposal, heated debate erupted. "We must consider the ethical implications of expanding this program," Ambassador Zelna cautioned. "Are we prepared for the consequences of creating more hybrid species?" Johnny and Seline, along with the other human Bolian couples, found themselves thrust into the role of unofficial ambassadors. They shared their experiences with visiting delegations, helping to bridge cultural gaps and provide insight into the challenges and joys of raising hybrid children. "It's not easy," Seline explained to a group of curious Andorian scientists. "Our children are growing so quickly, both physically and mentally. We're learning alongside them, trying to guide them as best we can." To support each other through these unprecedented challenges, the couples established a support group. They met regularly to share stories, develop strategies for guiding their unique offspring, and simply provide a shoulder to lean on when the weight of their responsibilities became overwhelming. As Luna and her peers continued to develop their abilities, they began to exhibit signs of telepathic communication with each other. Johnny first noticed it during a family dinner, when Luna suddenly laughed at something no one had said aloud. "What's so funny?" he asked. Luna grinned. "Oh, Zara just told a joke. In my head." This new development raised concerns among the scientists and government officials overseeing the hybrid program. Dr. Zara and her team rushed to understand and manage this emerging ability, fearing its implications for individual autonomy and societal integration. Unbeknownst to the Bolians and their allies, the Kalaxians had not remained idle. Using genetic samples obtained during the negotiations, they secretly began their own hybridization experiments. In hidden laboratories aboard their ships, Kalaxian scientists worked tirelessly to create Kalaxian Bolian hybrids, believing these new beings would give them an advantage in future interstellar conflicts. As Ball Prime continued its rapid transformation into a hub of genetic research and diplomatic relations, Commander Lux remained vigilant. He implemented enhanced defense systems around the planet and established a specialized task force to protect the hybrid children and their families from potential threats or attempts at exploitation. "We must remain cautious," Lux warned during a security briefing. "Our planet has become the focus of galactic attention. Not all of it may be benevolent." For Johnny and Seline, however, their primary focus remained on Luna. As she grappled with her rapidly changing body and abilities, they worked to instill in her a sense of responsibility and ethical consideration. "With great power comes great responsibility," Johnny told her one evening, borrowing a phrase from Earth's popular culture. Luna nodded solemnly, her eyes wise beyond her apparent years. "I understand, Dad. I want to use my abilities to help others, to make the galaxy a better place." As Luna's maturity and understanding grew along with her physical form, she began to express a desire to play a more active role in shaping galactic policy regarding hybrid rights and responsibilities. The future of Bull Prime, and indeed the galaxy, seemed poised on the edge of a new frontier. The actions of Johnny, Seline, and their remarkable daughter had set in motion events that would reshape the destinies of multiple civilizations. Yet as the hybrid children's powers continued to grow and new challenges emerged on the horizon, it was clear that their journey was nowhere near the end. As Luna's maturity and understanding grew along with her physical form, Bull Prime underwent a dramatic transformation. The once isolated planet became a bustling hub of interstellar activity, drawing visitors from across the galaxy. The rapid influx of alien species seeking to participate in hybrid breeding programs necessitated the construction of a massive spaceport on the outskirts of the capital city. Johnny stood at the observation deck of the newly completed facility, watching as ships of various designs and origins docked at the gleaming terminals. The spaceport, a marvel of engineering that could accommodate vessels from dozens of alien races, had become a symbol of Bull Prime's newfound importance in galactic affairs. "It's incredible, isn't it?" Seline said, joining him at the window. "Sometimes I can hardly believe how much has changed in such a short time." Johnny nodded, his eyes fixed on a sleek Andorian cruiser gliding into its berth. "And Luna's been at the center of it all." Their daughter, now appearing to be in her late teens due to her accelerated growth, had taken on an active role in the Galactic Genetic Diversity Initiative. As they watched the activity below, Luna emerged from a nearby conference room, deep in conversation with Dr. Zara and Dr. Elena Kovacs. "The genetic markers we isolated from the Rigelian samples could be the key to solving their fertility crisis," Luna was saying, her voice filled with excitement. "If we can replicate the results in a controlled environment, we might be able to reverse centuries of genetic decline." Dr. Zara nodded approvingly. "Your insights have been invaluable, Luna. Your unique perspective as a hybrid has opened up avenues of research we never would have considered." As the trio approached, Johnny couldn't help but marvel at his daughter's transformation. Luna's blue skin had taken on a subtle iridescence, and her eyes seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Her movements were graceful and purposeful, a far cry from the uncoordinated infant she had been mere months ago. "Mom, Dad," Luna greeted them with a warm smile. "Dr. Kovacs thinks we're close to a breakthrough with the Andorian hybridization program. We might be able to start trials within the next few weeks." Johnny felt a mixture of pride and unease wash over him. While Luna's accomplishments were undeniable, he couldn't shake the feeling that her rapid development was outpacing their ability to guide her. Later that evening, as they sat down for a family dinner in their quarters, Johnny broached the subject that had been weighing on his mind. "Luna, your mother and I have been talking with the Zithian scientists," he began carefully. "They've proposed a treatment that could potentially slow down your aging process." Luna's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "Slow it down? But why would we want to do that?" Seline reached out to take her daughter's hand. "We're concerned about the long-term effects of your accelerated growth. There's so much we don't understand about your unique physiology. The Zithians believe they can help stabilize your development, Johnny added. But we wanted to discuss it with you first. It's your decision. Luna's brow furrowed as she considered the proposal. What about my abilities? Would the treatment affect them? There are risks, Seline admitted. The procedure could potentially alter your unique capabilities. We just don't know for certain. Before Luna could respond, a high-pitched alarm blared through the complex. The family rushed to the communication panel, where Commander Lux's grim face appeared on the screen. We have a situation, Lux announced without preamble. Several hybrid children have gone missing from the secure facility, including 2 of Luna's peers. We suspect foul play. Luna's face paled. Zara and Kep are missing? How is that possible? As Lux outlined the immediate search operations being launched, Johnny's mind raced. The security protocols at the hybrid facility were supposed to be impenetrable. For someone to have breached them and abducted multiple children was unthinkable. I'm volunteering for the search team, Luna declared, her earlier uncertainty replaced by drive. Before Johnny could object, another alert sounded. Chancellor Torque's voice echoed through the complex, declaring a state of emergency. All Kalaxian representatives are to be immediately expelled from Ball Prime, the Chancellor announced. We have evidence of their involvement in the abduction of our hybrid children. The revelation sent shockwaves through the station. Outside, the once peaceful Kalaxian ships in orbit suddenly bristled with activated energy shields. A tense standoff ensued as the Kalaxians demanded the right to continue their work on the planet. As chaos erupted around them, Luna turned to her parents, her eyes blazing with perseverance. I have an idea, she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. But you're not going to like it. Johnny and Seline exchanged worried glances, sensing that their daughter was about to propose something that would push the boundaries of her extraordinary abilities even further. As alarms continued to blare and the planet braced for potential conflict, they listened intently to Luna's daring plan, knowing that the fate of the abducted children, and perhaps the future of interspecies relations, hung in the balance. Balance. Luna's eyes gleamed with commitment as she outlined her plan. I can infiltrate the Kalaxian ships, she said, her voice steady. My hybrid physiology should allow me to bypass their security measures undetected. Johnny's heart raced. Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. Dad, I'm the only one who can do this, Luna insisted. My abilities give us the best chance of rescuing Zara, Kep, and the others. Before Johnny could protest further, Commander Lux burst into the room. We've located a Kalaxian fleet near the outer reaches of our system. They're preparing to jump to hyperspace. Seline gripped Johnny's arm. We're running out of time. Luna stood, her posture radiating confidence. Commander, I need a stealth ship. Lux hesitated, glancing at Johnny and Seline. After a moment, he nodded. I'll have one prepared immediately. As they rushed to the hangar, Johnny's mind whirled with a mix of pride and terror. His daughter, barely months old in human terms, was about to embark on a perilous rescue mission. Luna hugged her parents tightly. I'll bring them home, she promised. As Luna's sleek stealth ship detached from the spaceport, Commander Lux's voice crackled over the comms. Initiating diversionary attack now. Good luck, Luna. The space around Bol Prime erupted into chaos as Bolian and Zethian ships engaged the Kalaxian vessels. Plasma bolts and energy beams crisscrossed the void, creating a deadly light show. Luna expertly piloted her ship through the melee, her enhanced reflexes allowing her to dodge weapons fire with ease. As she approached the Kalaxian flagship, she activated her ship's cloaking device, becoming invisible to both sensors and the naked eye. Heart-pounding, Luna maneuvered her ship into the flagship's docking bay. As she stepped out, she focused intensely, willing her genetic structure to shift ever so slightly. Her skin took on a faint shimmering quality that mimicked Kalaxian biosignatures. Luna moved swiftly through the corridors, her heightened senses on full alert. She could hear the quickened heartbeats of Kalaxian crew members as they rushed to battle stations. The acrid smell of ozone from overworked systems filled her nostrils. As she rounded a corner, Luna nearly collided with a Kalaxian security team. She held her breath, willing herself to remain calm. The guards' eyes slid over her without recognition, their bioscanners registering her as one of their own. Following her instincts, Luna made her way deeper into the ship. She passed by numerous laboratories, each filled with strange equipment and glowing containers. Finally, she caught a familiar scent, the unique pheromone signature of her fellow hybrids. Luna found herself outside a heavily guarded laboratory. Through the reinforced window, she could see Zara, Kep, and the other abducted children strapped to examination tables. Kalaxian scientists hovered over them, wielding menacing instruments. Closing her eyes, Luna concentrated on the guards' genetic structure. With subtle manipulations, she induced a state of confusion in their minds. The guards blinked rapidly, looking around in bewilderment. Seizing the opportunity, Luna slipped past them and into the lab. The scientists, engrossed in their work, didn't notice her entrance. With quick, precise movements, Luna disabled the restraints holding her friends. "Luna!" Zara gasped, her voice weak but filled with relief. "Shh," Luna whispered, helping Zara to her feet. "We need to move quickly." As Luna ushered the rescued children towards the exit, alarms began to blare throughout the ship. They had been discovered. Suddenly, a group of unfamiliar hybrids blocked their path. Their features were a mix of Kalaxian and Bolian, their eyes filled with confusion and conflict. Luna raised her hands, showing she meant no harm. Reaching out with her mind, she established a telepathic link with the Kalaxian-Bolian hybrids. "I know you're scared and confused," Luna's thoughts echoed in their minds. "But you don't belong here. You're not their property or their weapons. You're individuals with the right to choose your own path." The hybrids hesitated, their determination wavering. Luna shared her memories, her experiences of love and acceptance on Bull Prime. She showed them the possibility of a life free from control and experimentation. After a tense moment, one of the Kalaxian-Bolian hybrids stepped forward. "We'll help you escape," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "But what about us?" Luna smiled warmly. "You're coming with us. There's a place for you on Bull Prime." As they made their way to the hangar, the ship rocked violently. Outside, the battle had intensified. The arrival of the United Earth Fleet had turned the tide against the Kalaxians. Luna and her growing group of rescued hybrids piled into a Kalaxian shuttle. As she initiated the launch sequence, the hangar bay doors began to close. "Everyone, focus your energy," Luna called out. The hybrids joined hands, channeling their combined powers. A massive energy field surrounded the shuttle, short-circuiting the hangar bay controls and disabling weapon systems throughout the Kalaxian fleet. As their shuttle burst free from the flagship, Luna saw Bolian fighters moving to escort them. The comm system crackled to life with her father's voice. "Luna, you did it!" Johnny exclaimed, his voice choked with emotion. "You're all over the news feeds. The whole planet is celebrating." As they descended towards Bull Prime, Luna saw the sprawling spaceport alive with cheering crowds. The shuttle touched down gently, and as the doors opened, Luna was engulfed in a sea of blue arms as her parents rushed to embrace her. Over the din of the celebration, Chancellor Torque's voice boomed from nearby speakers. "Citizens of Bull Prime, honored guests, today marks a turning point in our history. The Kalaxians have agreed to unconditional negotiations, and the Galactic Council has been called to mediate." Luna looked out at the diverse crowd, humans, Bolians, Scythians, and now the newly rescued Kalaxian-Bolian hybrids. She felt a swell of hope for the future, knowing that her actions had set in motion changes that would reshape the galaxy. As the chaos of the homecoming swirled around her, Luna caught her parents' eyes. There was pride there, but also concern. She knew the conversation about the Zethian treatment to slow her aging was just getting started. But for now, there were more immediate concerns to address. Luna turned to address the gathered officials and media. The galaxy was watching, waiting to hear from the hybrid who had changed everything. She took a deep breath, ready to share her vision for a future where diversity was celebrated and cooperation trumped conflict.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.